Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for the organization, for the invitation. And let's get into healthcare and life sciences, the next generation growth economy. And I want to start with a recognition. I want to start with a recognition to Clay Shirky, an American writer who, in 2010, he said that generations are different, not because people are different, which we are, but because the opportunities surrounding people are different. And the opportunities that we have in healthcare and life sciences these days are astonishing, okay? We get, almost every week a new piece of information on a scientific development or a technological breakthrough. And, either we talk about software, we talk about hardware, we talk about biology, okay? You name it. And they're all converging, that's the first thing. And there are even laws or principles attached to that. We talk about the software and the bits. It was Mark Andreessen, A16Z, 2011, an op-ed article at the Wall Street Journal. He said software is eating the world. In the future, every company will be a software company. Okay? His own team at A16Z, Bio plus Health, they said, well, it's not software, it is biology which is eating the world. We are at the beginning of a new era where biology has shifted from an empirical science into an engineering discipline. So we are able to engineer the cell, which is a unique time in our lifetimes. And then in terms of the atoms, nobody has said so, but I do believe that hardware will be eating everything that software and biology will be able to eat. Okay? And this is an important thing because that means that the set of things that can happen is far, far greater than the things that have happened already. Okay, that's very important. And that is what I call a disruption, right? And then I'm using the word disruption very consciously. I'm not using discontinuity or change or anything. It is a disruption. And what happens in a disruption mainly is that the power, the balance of the power changes, and some other things also change as well. And if we talk about disruption, we need to go back to the person who coined that, Clayton Christensen at Harvard Business School. His concept was a little bit misunderstood, but he has a great question that I think is very relevant these days in healthcare and life sciences, plus in other industries in the economy. He said, okay, this disruption thing, is it an opportunity or is it a threat? Okay? And his answer, because everybody all the time concentrates more on the threat. Okay? His answer is almost always disruption is an opportunity long before it becomes a threat. And that's very, very important. Okay? Because if you're late to this, you'll become a threat for you. Let me get to another point. When there is disruption, there's something else very important that happens. The first thing, as I said, is the balance of power changes. That's the first thing. But then the second, when an entire industry structure changes, when an entire industry structure is transformed, it is not only who does what that changes, it is also who takes what. And that's very important. We're talking about business here, and that's quite relevant. Okay, so in the end, transformation in healthcare and life sciences, in whatever the industry, is our answer to disruption. Okay? And I want to introduce you today to 3 contrarian ideas. Okay? What is a contrarian idea? It is something that is, not common sense, not the mainstream, usually in the minority. It will spark some debate, and that's what I'm doing that, okay? Let me start with the first one. To accelerate your ecosystem, you need to bet on your best assets. You say, oh, well, that's super smart, nothing new under the sun, okay? But let's get into what are we talking about when we talk, what are the best assets of this region, okay? And when I had responsibilities all over Europe with the IT Health, that was a question that a lot of people were asking me all the time. It's like, is my city, is my region one of the hubs in healthcare and life sciences? I am on the map or not? Is Barcelona on the map? How far is up in the map? Is it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? What is that? And the issue is, the answer is Europe doesn't have one Silicon Valley for healthcare and life sciences. It has many, many centers, okay? If we talk about pharma and biotech, we're talking about these 4 countries, Switzerland, the UK, France, or Germany. They're leading the positioning here, right? If we talk about medtech and digital, things are a bit different, right? And in medtech, for example, we get places that maybe you've never heard about, Galway in Ireland, okay, or Erlangen in Germany, right? And if we talk digital, this is where certain cities, certain regions can play a role. And my take is that Barcelona can play a role here. Very interesting to know, Europe in healthcare and life sciences still holds a competitive position, which is quite unique. I think only in the car industry that's so, and probably in soccer industry as well, okay? If we talk about pharma, 5 of the top 15 companies, top global companies in the world are located in Europe, okay? And if we talk about medtech, same numbers, 5 of the top 15 top global companies are located in Europe. That's a strong asset, okay? How do I look at regions when I look at regions in terms of answering the question, right? I try to put them in a classical 2x2 matrix, right? And then what I do is, okay, on the horizontal axis, I say, okay, you might have a university or several universities at the core of the region, or you might have a hospital or a group of hospitals at the core of the region. And then on the vertical axis, you might be the home of a headquarter, maybe a manufacturing plant, maybe an R&D center for a pharma or a medtech company. So you're important for them. On the low side, you're home for multinationals. Basically, you have pharma and medtech companies located in the region, but they are not the headquarters, the R&D centers, or the manufacturing plants, okay? So if you position the different regions of the world here, of course, we get Boston up there, okay? We also get Silicon Valley with the different companies and different universities, Stanford in the middle. If we go to Europe, we have Oxford, Cambridge, we get EPFL and ETH in Switzerland. So that's one set of things. If we go to Paris and Ontario, Toronto, very similar to Barcelona, we're talking places that they have world leaders in their regions, but their top asset is hospitals. Okay, for example, Paris, it has the largest group of public hospitals in the world, 37 hospitals in an association called APHP, Assistance Publique Hôpital de Paris. Okay, and then of course we get Israel. Here in Catalonia we like Israel a lot. And Israel is sitting in between the two things. It has a large company called Teva, generics company, sitting there, but it's basically sitting at the center of universities, let's say. And then we have, Catalonia. Catalonia is in this situation, okay? The center of it is hospitals. It's at the core of it, but we have a lot of home for multinationals, pharma and medtech companies, right? So my take is, what can we do with these two assets, okay? So let's start with the first one. Where is the opportunity? Okay. So first thing, when I talk to people from providers and from industry players about that, we can say that there's these 5 stages of different digital transformation. We move from denial to anger to bargaining to depression to acceptance, right? And if I ask you, where are our companies, where are our startups, you wouldn't be surprised that they are here. They're all in depression. Why is that? Because they think that they will not be able to change, because the transformation is very complex. And this is pharma companies, medtech companies, hospitals, universities, it's a really difficult thing. One thing is to introduce technology, then the other is to scale and transform organizations using technology, okay? So let me first start with providers. What can healthcare providers do? First thing, in the past 10 to 15 years, we've put a lot of money and effort in what I call in-out, basically meaning mining our own healthcare providers, our institutions, finding ideas from doctors and nurses and try to bring them to the market. That was good, okay? That's the first thing. We've been doing this for 10, 15 years. My take that if we want to transform healthcare and life sciences, what we need to do is out-in. When I was leading the digital transformation at Hospital Sant Joan de Déu, that was 2010, 2011, there were no single companies that I can buy software from to transform the organization. Today, there are hundreds, thousands of companies, startup companies here in Barcelona, Spain, Europe, and the world, okay? So it is more about adopting proven technologies that have proven their value from the outside, okay? Can be the outside, can be the next street, the next region, the next country, the next continent, right? Then, so my take is, don't give money to doctors, give money to hospitals or to healthcare providers to transform. Force them to transform their institutions, acquiring software products, services from startups and other companies, okay? That's what it will happen, right? So for every $1 you give to creation, give 3 to adoption. And when I talk to adoption, I'm not talking about our adoption of technology here in Catalonia or here in Spain or here in Europe, but looking at the best possible technologies out there. And then adoption of what? Sometimes people get confused. Adoption of what? And I've created these categories of digital technologies because they're not all equal. That's very important, right? The first one is what I call structuring technologies. Computers, cloud, cybersecurity, data governance, 5G. Very unlikely La Vanguardia or El País will call you for this to be part of their news. Okay, it's not something that is newsworthy. Okay, it's something you need to do, but it's not something that people are interested. Okay. People are more interested in these other technologies, what I call the proof of concept of the R&D technology. So the metaverse, the digital twin, the blockchain, the Web3, this is super cool to talk about, okay? My take here is that this is good to test those technologies. These are experiments. We need to do that. But we should avoid those technologies. We need to go to what I call the value technologies, those technologies that have proven their value, they have been tested in different institutions, in different countries, in different regions, so we can benefit from those. We need to experiment with the proof of concept or with the R&D technologies, but what we need to do is invest in structuring technologies and value technologies. Very, very important. Okay? Let me move to the pharma side, to the industry players, the pharma and medtech. I'm going to put an emphasis on pharma in this case. These are the top 5 companies here in Europe. They're European, right, by nature. These are their headquarters, their manufacturing, and the R&D locations. The table is not finished, but the numbers are here and the same, right? We've put in the past a lot of effort into getting those top pharmaceutical companies to get their manufacturing plants and their R&D centers to come to Barcelona or to come to Europe, to come to Spain, right? What is the challenge here? These are very heavy capital investments to be done, and it's not easy. And then if this was a poker game, this game is already done, right? However, there is a big opportunity, and then here Barcelona can play a great role when we talk about innovation hubs, data, AI technology, okay? And then the game here is not capital expense, it is talent. That's the conversation. People talk to me, I need to find great talent. Where can I find it? Okay? I need to find talent. Where can I find it? I'm a strong person, convinced very much that we need, the number one thing we need in Barcelona, in Spain, in Europe is talent. And talent can be upskilling, reskilling, more people in universities, favorable immigration policies, anything that we get the best. We did it in football, we did it in basketball, we need to do it in tech as well. Okay? Now, let's move to the second one. Winners will be those who bet on collaborative innovation. What is collaborative innovation? Basically, just the opposite thing that we normally like to do here. Okay? So what is this collaborative innovation? This comes from a presentation I did in 2016 at Charité at Berlin. Okay, so the same ideas. I've been very unsuccessful in making them through. Hopefully, some people will be listening to it. So what is a collaborative innovation? It's a different type of innovation, where 4 things happen at the same time. The first is that you foster innovation through collaboration, not competition. So basically, you collaborate with your enemies, your competitors, if you want to call them, okay? For example, you'd be surprised that Barcelona and Real Madrid, they are collaborating, against La Liga for something that is very relevant. The name El Clásico, for example, that's one thing. Second, it involves many agents, not just the traditional bilateral agreements that we used to do. Okay? This is very common in healthcare, an agreement between Novartis and Google, between this hospital and this company. Okay? The third one is about long-term agreements. So it's not about doing short-term European Union projects, for example, right? It's about setting up collaboration environments, long-term standing about that. Okay? And then the last one, the conversation revolves more around creating value than about capturing value. Very important. So my take here is that soon, I hope that very soon, collaborative advantage will win over competitive advantage, right? So those who learn how to work together can be better than those who don't work together. That's a very important message, okay? Very difficult to understand. That means no egos at the door, and other things. Examples out there, Ion Labs, Israel, our favorite country, right? Amazon Web Services, they got together this program where they managed to get top pharma companies together, Merck, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Teva. Why? Just to work with startups, on solving challenges out there. Challenges that those pharma companies are not ready to handle, okay? Very important, okay? So can we do the same thing here? Why not? From the other side of the ocean, the United States, we have this thing, the Children's Hospital Solutions for Patient Safety. This is a network of all the 150 children's hospitals in the US, okay? And what they do, and in the US, it's a private market for healthcare, so they compete for patients, okay? What these guys, they have decided, and again, that's no egos at the door, humans trying to make the best thing possible for patients, okay? What they have done is they'd say, okay, we're gonna be sharing together our most delicate data, which is maybe kids that we have killed because we have given them the wrong medication or the wrong doses, okay? So I'm able to say, I'm willing to share my mistakes so the other 149 hospitals, they don't make it. So we can save lives out there, okay? Can we do that? Yes, it's management. It has nothing to do with technology. It's just human beings working together, okay? Now, these are some of the results. Very impressive. I'm not going to read them, but basically you see that the curves are going down, which is always good news, right? So basically, these guys have been working together for 15 years, and it proves that if you work together, results come, okay? Why cannot we collaborate? Why is it, And my take, my contrarian view here, is that Catalonia, Barcelona, this is the only industry in Catalonia and in Spain where we have top 7, 8 regularly in international rankings considered the top institutions in the world, okay? So this is unique. I think we don't do that with football teams, we don't have that with car companies, we don't have that with anything. Maybe with haute cuisine, high cuisine, that's the only thing where we get closer to that, okay? These hospitals are top hospitals in the world, okay? Our physicians are considered to be top physicians in the world, okay? And that's very important. I committed some heresy here. I have included some private hospitals here, okay? My WhatsApp probably is now just burning, right? How can you do that, Because these people have patients from here with data. It's just a different payment method, right? But basically, these data from these patients can also benefit us, okay? So why can't we collaborate when it's very much needed and we have, the opportunity? Number 3, contrarian view. The future of digital health is not data, it is evidence. We have a lot of data. If we talk to every pharma company, they say, no more data, we have enough data. We just need to make sense of the data. We need to get the evidence out of the data. Of course, you cannot get evidence without the data, but not every piece of data, is an evidence. It's not a clinical evidence. Let me go through these 3 boring things: regulatory, reimbursement, and clinical evidence. Regulatory, what is happening in Europe, just a nightmare. I'm going to show it with you in a second. I'm going to show you the case of Switzerland, what they've done to break the bar, to break the bank, okay? Reimbursement, probably you've heard about DIGA, what the Germans are doing, what the French are trying to copy, where everybody's trying to get, digital health frameworks so we can get compensated for the introduction of digital health applications. And then the last piece is clinical evidence. Clinical evidence, my take is what will get you through both of these processes, regulatory and reimbursement, and what will also serve as a differentiation with the other digital health startups. Very important. Let me go one by one. Regulatory. This is the biggest bottleneck in Europe in healthcare at the moment, right? So basically, what has happened is that we've had merged regulations, and we have 2 new regulations called MDR and IVDR. Okay, medical device regulation, in vitro diagnostics regulation. Okay, so this is good in the sense that it serves as a simplification of the regulatory scheme. However, it's creating a bottleneck. Why is that? Basically, I think it is coming to business schools around the world, a new case on how to create the perfect bottleneck. Why is that? Number 1, more products need to be regulated. Why is that? Because a lot of the software is now considered a medical device, right? So we don't call you medical device, but we consider you a medical device, which means that you need to go through a process of regulation, so it means longer time frames to the market, number 1. Number 2, existing products already in the market, they also need to go through this, right? So it's not just the traditional one, so everybody has to go through this door, right? Number 3, the new regulations are more demanding. Of course, we have more ticks to tick, okay? And number 4, there is very limited expertise in digital technologies out there, very, very limited. We have people who have been doing pharma and medtech for many years, regulating on digital health. There's a totally different thing. And then the last one, there is very, very, very few low number of notified bodies in Europe. What I'm getting, this is a perfect storm. Usually, healthcare startups, they're being delayed between a year and a half to get to the market. So this is not great. What do our colleagues in Switzerland do? Another small country that we really like a lot, right? Politicians, oh my goodness, these guys, politicians, they decide in case of patient care. The Swiss parliament has said, we will accept FDA regulatory approvals for products to be introduced in Switzerland, okay? Talk about that. This is innovation, right? So Swiss MedTech welcomes Parliament instructions to the Federal Council to adopt national laws enabling Switzerland to accept medical devices with FDA approval for the welfare of its own population. Waiting cannot be an option if patient safety is at risk, okay? Very interesting. That's what I call, policy innovation, being smart, okay? Geopolitics meeting healthcare at this point in time. First thing, Switzerland may become the launch pad for US companies entering Europe, right? And they will benefit from the best technologies out there, first thing. Also keep in mind that the UK has left the Union. UK has very good friendships with the US. I wouldn't be surprised if these two countries, they have, parting ways on how to regulate that, and then we'll be left behind. So a very important approach to this, right? Number two, reimbursement. There are multiple digital health frameworks, right? Multiple. And then, of course, different reimbursement routes for all of them. The most famous one, the DiGA in Germany, but we have also the DTAC in the UK. We have the famous pyramid validation in Belgium. We have a recent one called the Nordic from the Nordics, which is the first cross-border digital health framework. Very interesting. We also have the French, who are working on it. We still don't know what they're doing, but they said that they will solve everything. I'm happy to hear that. And then also we get the FDA, as I said, and then also ISO, very interesting. So they have different frameworks and different things. Some of the interesting things is that, and we have to be very thankful to the Germans because they were ahead, they tested this, and they've been very, very open about their successes and about their mistakes. This is what I call collaboration with the world, okay? These guys, they say, hey, this is what we did. It's not that we did the perfect thing, but this is what worked, okay? Problem is that the total market for these applications, the DiGA applications, there is around 34, 33 products in Germany approved these days. And if I remember correctly, the total revenues in 2021 was roughly 57 million. You can use your smartwatches to do the calculation, but it's not a lot of money, okay? So we certainly need to do things here. And then the last one is on quality, right? My take is that we talk a lot about data, right? But my point is that the quality of data is not as good as we think it is, okay? And we have significantly better data management systems than data itself, okay? So my take is that there is an unvalidated assumption that says more data means better healthcare outcomes or better business performance. Not the case. Two examples. August 2017, study reveals prevalence of copy-paste in EHR clinical data. EHR, Historia Clínica Electrónica, okay? So basically, you know how to do copy-paste? Yes, you do. Doctors also do how to do copy-paste, okay? So basically, they copy-paste 50% of everything that is written there. Same type of a study, September 2022. Over 50% of text in EHR notes is duplicate clinical documentation, right? So first thing, we need to take a look at what data we have. And number three, Clinical Robustness Index. This is a new index being created. It's imperfect, as every new thing that we do. It's been done in the US by Rock Health and Johns Hopkins University. There is a publication in a celebrated journal out there. Basically, it's an index that compiles two things: the market applications to the FDA, the regulatory body in the US, and the clinical trials that the company has gone through. Okay, so this is only US companies. We're talking about 224 US digital health startups, so 224, okay? They're categorized between prevention, diagnosis, and treatment, 150 treatment, 150 diagnosis, and 25 prevention, okay? Companies had an average age of almost 8 years, so they've been around for long, right? And they have collectively raised $8.2 billion since 2011, okay? So, well, they have enough resources to do their things. What are the results from the study? Very interesting, right? Number one, the average clinical robustness score was 2.5 out of 10. Pretty good, okay? In my times, this was a suspension, okay? So you had to retake the course. Second, companies with a score of 0, 44%, almost half of them. Clinical robustness score 0, res, rian, cero pelotero, okay? Only about 20% of the companies scored high in robustness, okay? And then, very interesting last line, marketing claims aren't often backed by evidence, okay? So this is the typical, let's say, characteristics of an industry that is still maturing. So there is work to be done transforming data in clinical evidence, and that's what will make us ahead, okay? Good. So I'm about to finish, and I want to finish with a story. I always tell this story. It was 1973. I'm sure you've been to Sweden, not at that time, but now. Sweden, at that point in time, used to drive the UK style, so on the left, okay? And they politely and democratically decided to change to drive more like their European counterpartners, okay? On the left, on the right. And one day they decided to change, okay? And if you go today to Sweden, it's a normal country. You know, people are nice, women are nice, everybody's nice there, okay? But this is what happened on the D-Day, okay? This is exactly what happened. I mean, this is a definition of chaos. It's not clear who is driving on the left, who is driving on the right, right? People are, you know, the pedestrians are in the middle of the road. So it's really, really, really everybody there, okay? There are other, you know, cooler pictures, right? So, you know, it was difficult. It was pretty difficult, right? But if we go today, you know, it's a perfectly normal country, okay? And this is what healthcare is going through, healthcare and life sciences, and I would even say all the industry, all the sectors we have in our economies, okay? Because we are caught between structures of the future that we are building still, and the structures of the past that we are dismantling, okay? And I want to finish with a positive note. If you're a startup, if you're a corporate, if you're a government official, keep the good work. It's a long journey, okay? But we really need to disassemble the past and build the future. We really deserve it, okay? Thank you very much for your time.